You know that feeling like you're just waiting? Waiting to feel ready for that next big thing in your life? Well, today, we're going to tear that idea apart and figure out what it actually means to build a kind of readiness that can handle, well, anything. Let's get into it.
So it all kicks off with this old proverb, one I'm sure you've heard 1,000 times. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. It's a classic, but it's also kind of a riddle, isn't it? It suggests that you can't just find wisdom, you have to be prepared to receive it. And that's the big idea we're going to explore today.
So what is readiness really? Is it about feeling super competent, having all the answers? I think for most of us, it feels like we're always waiting for it, always feeling just a little bit behind, a little unprepared for whatever's coming next.
And that leads us straight into this fascinating paradox. See, the sources we're digging into today suggest readiness isn't some passive feeling that you just wait around for. Not at all. It's an active state. It's something you create. It's a structure you build, piece by piece, through practice.
So let's meet our first teacher. And get this, it's not a person. It's the work itself. And there's no better way to understand this than through the incredible story of the author Elizabeth Gilbert. This is where the whole idea of active readiness just comes alive.
Okay, so picture this. Elizabeth Gilbert is right in the thick of writing what would become the massive global bestseller Eat, Pray, Love. You'd imagine this would be a time of pure, unadulterated, creative inspiration, right?
Couldn't be more wrong. She said she was in a pit of despair. She was so overwhelmed with doubt that she was seriously ready to just scrap the entire project. She didn't feel inspired. She didn't feel ready. In her mind, she was failing.
And right there, in that moment of total despair, she does something amazing. She literally starts talking to an empty room, to the work itself. And what she says, wow. It's not this plea for inspiration to magically strike. Nope. It's a statement, a commitment. She's basically saying, I'm here. I'm doing my part. And just like that, she made herself ready by doing, not by feeling. And that's our first huge lesson. Readiness isn't some mood you wait for. It's an action you take.
All right, let's build on that with our next teacher. This one isn't a single action, but a whole lifetime of building a solid foundation of character. This is perfectly captured in this really powerful story about a father's love during the American Civil Rights Movement.
So back in the late 1950s, a man named Buck Murphy's son Curtis gets arrested for his part in the Nashville sit-ins. A guy on the street tries to taunt Buck, about his jailbird son. And Buck, without even a second's hesitation, just comes back with these 5 simple words. This wasn't some witty retort, it was just who he was.
And that right there, that just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? Buck Murphy's readiness in that moment, it wasn't because he'd practiced some clever comeback in the mirror. No way. It came from a foundation he'd been building his entire life. A foundation of love, not as some fluffy feeling, but as an action, as a commitment. He was ready for that moment because he'd been building the man he was every single day before it.
So, if readiness is all about action and building a foundation, where's the classroom? Where do we learn this stuff? Well, our third teacher is life itself. It's the struggle, the criticism, the obstacles. So, welcome to the arena.
Aristotle just lays it out so clearly. The second you decide to do anything that matters, anything of value, you're basically sending out an invitation for criticism. The arena isn't supposed to be a safe, comfortable place. It's where you get tested. And trying to avoid the critics, well, that's just avoiding life.
And then the great Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius takes it even one step further. He says, those obstacles, the very things that seem to be blocking your path, they're not actually in your way. They are the way. The struggle itself is the curriculum. Which of course brings us to these iconic, powerful words from Theodore Roosevelt. The credit, the respect, it doesn't belong to the person sitting on the sidelines judging everyone. It belongs to the person who's actually in the arena, the one who's striving, failing, and daring to do big things. The striving is the success.
So here's the big takeaway from this section. We don't prepare for the arena, we prepare in it. The criticism, the failures, the sweat, that's the lesson plan. That is exactly how we become ready.
But, being in the arena isn't just about fighting battles out in the world. There's a whole internal practice that goes with it. And our next teacher shows us that readiness can be found in the most profound simplicity, not in some complex new idea.
The story goes, a traveler begged a master for the ultimate wisdom. The master just wrote down one word,
awareness. The traveler, a bit confused, asked for more. So the master wrote it again and again. The lesson here is so important. Wisdom isn't some fact you learn and then file away. It's a state you have to practice over and over and over. It's not about learning more. It's about being more present with what's already here.
Okay, so we've met our teachers, right? We have the work, the foundation, the arena, and the practice of awareness. So how in the world do we pull all of this together into something we can actually use? Let's get into our final section and lay out the practice.
All right, let's pull all these threads together. This is the practice of readiness, step by step. Number 1, you build your foundation, your character. That's your bedrock. 2, you just show up and do the work. Just like Elizabeth Gilbert, inspiration or not. 3, you stand firm in love, and I mean love as an action, like Buck Murphy showed us. 4, you practice awareness, constantly. And finally, number 5, you step into the arena. You get your hands dirty and learn from the fight. And look, this isn't some checklist you do once and you're done. This is the daily grind. This is the practice.
And that leads us to this beautiful final piece of wisdom that just flips the whole thing on its head. We tend to think we need to gather more, become something bigger, to finally be ready. But this quote tells us no. Everything you need, the potential of the entire mountain, is already inside you, right here, right now.
So we've come full circle, back to that old proverb, but now it means something different, doesn't it? We've learned the teacher isn't some mystical figure who's going to show up one day. The teacher is already here. It's in the work you have to do. It's in the character you're building. It's in every single one of your struggles. So you see, readiness was never about waiting for the perfect moment. It's about starting, right now. The teacher is here. The only question left is, are you ready to begin?